Hello there, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is ChitChad and welcome back to another episode of Planet Coaster, where we are working on the Super Mario Super Theme Park. For today's episode, we're going to start working on the transportation ride that will link the major lands together. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to this. When I was thinking of a transportation vehicle, because that was kind of always the thought that we would have some sort of transportation option in the park, whether that would have been a train or the Hollywood-style tram. But when the People Mover style attraction became accessible to us via the World's Fair pack, I believe, it was an instant win. I was sold. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yep, that's what we're going to use for the Mario Park. The People Mover, the one at Disneyland and Disney World, it's so much fun. And I genuinely miss the People Mover in Disneyland. And I would just ride it just because it gave such a cool view of the park. You could see so much more details from up above. And the fact that the vehicle itself is relatively non-enclosed, it was so much freedom of viewing. And it was fun, especially because it interacted with so many elements of Tomorrowland. So one of the goals for this is to have it interact with certain parts of the park. And you'll see I was starting to try and come up with different ways that it could be laid out. I was trying to think of if I wanted it to be doubled up, if I wanted to have one going one way and one going the other, so they were constantly crossing each other. Eventually, we kind of just end up with a track layout that just goes around the whole park. Originally, I was thinking of having it go straight down towards the castle. But what I realized is that obstructed the view pretty significantly from the perspective of just walking into the park. You know, it would just cause too much obstruction of all the things that we've got built. So I decided to just have it go around the perimeter. And you're gonna see that we start building items and containers and buildings that will kind of enclose this, especially when we go over to Luigi's Mansion, when we go over to the new Bowser's Kingdom area, which we will continue to build. I just kind of wanted to get the transportation ride somewhat together so that I can start planning exactly how I wanted it to go, especially when we get over to Princess Peach's castle, because I kind of want that to be the second main hub. So you have the main hub that's kind of over by the entrance, and then we'll have a second one that takes place over in Princess Peach's castle. And that's where I want to add a lot of detail. And there's opportunities, I think, still to explore. One of the ideas that I did have was potentially having this vehicle go through the Luigi's Mansion ride somehow. I thought it would be really fun if there was a way to get it to work, but just with the way that I already planned Luigi's Mansion, I'm not sure if it's practical. It would be very difficult to have it happen, but I thought it would be so neat to have the tram go through and cross where the ride vehicle, just above the ride vehicle when you first see the mansion in the ride. I thought that would be really cool because there is a larger ceiling in that section if the People Mover went through that. But it's not extremely practical just because there's a lot of hidden compartments in there for the ride itself. And it would be difficult for me to kind of plan that otherwise, because it would essentially have to cut through where the second story track already is, and it would have to wrap around the backside of the mansion. So I thought, let's just have it cut through the mansion, because that's also kind of cool, and we could potentially utilize some screens to have some ghost animations pop up and other things, and maybe give it the appearance that you're going through the mansion, because as you can see, it's already a pretty tight fit with the track going through where it is currently. And I had to do a little bit of space planning and figuring that out, especially removing the supports on the track just because they were dropping right through into the ride. And again, I think it would be fun to add some animations, and we could also reutilize animations that will already be created for the Luigi's Mansion ride anyways. Real quick, while we're talking about animations, I'm not sure if this was something I talked about in a previous episode, but one of the things that's going to be changing this year on the channel is that anything related to Planet Coaster, whether it's animation or doing voiceover or creating video content that's going to be inside of the theme park itself, any of that stuff is going to be just on this channel alone. So there might be full episodes where I'm just working on a Luigi animation or a Yoshi animation or a Miko animation for the Studios Park. That's just going to live on this channel. I think it's going to simplify things a lot more, and this will just be your one-stop shop for all Planet Coaster related content. And I think it'd be fun too, because I really enjoy animation, and I was really struggling trying to figure out, do I want to have all these Mario based episodes on my other channel, even though there's not a whole lot of context? Like, Chad posted like 3 animation videos just about Mario. What's going on? You know, I think the subject matter on my main channel needs to be more varied, especially now that I'm pushing it more towards a voice themed channel of me just doing like different impersonations and doing covers and stuff like that. So I just thought that would be more appropriate to have that content over here for Planet Coaster, just so it doesn't split up the episodes really, so you could just continue to watch it. And maybe I'll find ways to incorporate actual Planet Coaster recording in those episodes. Definitely showcase the materials on the ride if I haven't done so already. Just because sometimes when I do the animation, it'll be a while before it'll get utilized. And I know there's still some that we need to work on for some of the other rides, including Yoshi. I've been thinking about making that celebratory like Yoshi dance towards the end of the ride, which was something I planned a long time ago. So that's still on my list of things to do. And now that I kind of have a more clear direction with what I want to do with that type of content, I feel that I'll be jumping to it sooner rather than later. So this is going to be one of the next stops on the tram tour. We're going to go through the Bowser's Kingdom, which I think is a lot of fun. And you'll also get a cool view of the Bowser Jr.'s ride, which we actually had a really good name for on the last episode, submitted by Alex Does Things. For the ride name, how about Bowser Jr.'s Clown Cruisers? That is an awesome name. Thank you so much for the suggestion. We're gonna go with it. So thank you so much for that. I really like that name. It works really well. I like the alliteration. So we're going to go with that for the official name for that ride. So thank you so much. And as far as names for the People Mover, I'm currently thinking the Odyssey, just to play off of Mario Odyssey, because that whole game is just about exploring other worlds and different art styles and stuff like that. So I thought that would be a fun name for our People Mover. But if anyone has suggestions on a name they think might be better, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. So this is another really long stretch of track where it goes through, and I want to try and find ways to have interaction, whether that be animations that we repurpose from other parts of the park. Like I said, I want to create the Koopalings, so maybe having them make an appearance in this part might be fun, or maybe just having the tram just kind of be, fun, because there are long, if I remember correctly, there were pretty long stretches on the People Mover that didn't really have anything other than just the view of the park itself. So I might just be overthinking it, but I still want to add a little bit more once we have the track layout kind of relatively put together. And also, sorry for the delay from last week. I meant to upload some new episodes, but we were having some major computer issues, and I mentioned that on the last Chatterbox Studios episode. And I finally figured out what was going on. I thought it was something with Planet Coaster, but it was actually something with my computer. Planet Coaster was completely up to date, and a lot of people were saying because of the Theme Maker's Toolkit, they've been seeing a lot of lag. And it was insane, because I would load into the Mario Park, and I would get maybe like 3 or 4 frames. It was so bad. And I would jump into just a blank park, and I was getting maybe like 10 frames. It was still horribly bad. To get the screenshots that I needed to upload the episodes, I actually had to scale back the graphics to the lowest setting, position the camera where I needed it, and then I would raise the graphics level back up. And it was just such a nightmare. And I was wondering what was going on, and I was trying to like reinstall and uninstall all these things. And what I found out was during a Windows update, it had switched my preferred graphics cards. It was no longer looking at my beast of a graphics card that I've been using since this computer was made. It was looking at an Intel one that was just kind of like a part of my build, which is more meant for all my monitors than to be used as a graphics card. So I have no idea why the Windows update pointed to my Intel versus my NVIDIA graphics card. So I had to go in and disable a whole bunch of stuff and have it stop looking at that graphics card. Because even when I told Planet Coaster to just look at my NVIDIA graphics card, it was still so slow because I think they were in conflict with one another. So we finally figured it out, which was kind of a bummer because I was really like excited to record and I couldn't because everything was so dang slow. But once I figured that out, got everything switched over to looking at my primary graphics card, everything is running super smooth again. I'm so happy to have figured that out because I'm not the super most tech savvy person in the world, but because I've had so many awesome people help me build this machine, this computer that I've been using, I've kind of learned a little bit from them. So I'm kind of happy to have been able to figure out that problem for myself, because even it was affecting like editing and rendering, like just everything felt so slow on my machine. So I'm really happy to have figured that problem out. And it's just so funny because I can recall so many times where I take just a short break from creating content or what have you, and when I come back, it's always something silly like that. I've had my RAM go bad, I've had my graphics cards go bad, I've had my storage go crazy on me. It's always like a little thing that gets in the way. And you're like, dang it, I was like in the creative vibe to get things done and just something had to get in the way, gosh darn it. So everything's cool. I actually started working on the next mini series that we're going to have on this channel. It's going to be a mini build where we're just going to build kind of just a coaster and maybe one small side experience, whether that's like a restaurant or a store, just so we can get some more variety on this channel. Because to be honest, working on the Mario stuff's great and working on the studio stuff great, but it would be really fun just to have some mini projects that I can finish a lot faster and get more variety that way. So I hope you all looking forward to that. I will drop a hint, it is going to be gaming themed, the next ride, and it's a character that not too recently, but had a bit of a resurgence, and that's it. It's the only clue I'm gonna get. I'm sure some people already know because I remember I've talked about it to a few people, but it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a different type of coaster that I haven't used, and it's gonna have actual inversions, which is something I don't often do, especially with the kind of coasters that I create, and it's just gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And it's cool also to be back in the Luigi's Mansion area of the park. I know I've received a couple of messages as to when I'm going to start working on those animations, and that was another thing too, what I was talking about earlier with trying to decide whether I was going to have those animations on my main channel or on this channel. And I think having it on this channel, just one, makes more sense, and two, it'll allow me not to feel so silly about just constantly uploading Mario themed animations, because that's what I'm working on this channel, and it makes more sense that way. So it's going to be hopefully a lot quicker. And I know there's been some thoughts on whether I should make the Luigi characters, the Boos and the Ghosts and King Boo and all that, in a 3D environment. But again, I think I'm going to stick with some more simplistic characters or more simplistic objects for my first jump into 3D, and I think I'm going to save those for doing as a traditional animation, because I enjoy doing that stuff a lot, and doing 3D rigs, especially character driven ones, is probably going to take way too much time for me personally. So I think I'm going to stick with 2D for now, but we'll jump into some Blender soon enough. I'm really excited for that because it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a challenge for me because it's been quite a while. Normally when I do 3D, it's kind of like that 2.5D style that you can do inside of After Effects running the Cinema 4D renderer, where you can extrude simple shapes and masks and create sort of a pseudo 3D, because you can drop in a 3D camera in that environment and create simple geometric object. Like imagine my intro with the arcade cabinets. That was all done in After Effects, utilizing the Cinema 4D engine and doing simple extrudes and just placing cameras and getting that kind of pseudo 3D environment. I only say that because normally you're just placing a bunch of flat objects and angling them so they appear to be in 3D, but it's kind of cool because with the Cinema 4D renderer, you can actually extrude more complex objects, whereas before it was just very, very limiting. And of course, there's Cinema 4D Lite, which you can launch from After Effects, but Lite's kind of, it doesn't give you a lot of options, and Blender's probably the easiest option for me. And with all that being said, we are at the end of today's video. Just want to say thank you all so much for watching. Always appreciate it. Really happy to be building in Planet Coaster. It's a lot of fun. Come back next week for the next episode. We're going to continue building the Odyssey People Mover style attraction. Thanks again, and as always, I will chat with you later.